welcome in. This is the Candidly Bear podcast. It's great to see you guys. I'm Monica, Germany, and today we're just going to explore some hot topics and some deep dives, simple deep dives that I've been on for sure. Before that, how are you guys doing? I have a full cup of coffee that I am terrified to spill right now. It's also like 11 o'clock at night. It's 11 o'clock at night, and I have a full cup of coffee. It's probably not going to help my insomnia. I know this, but it sounded good, and that's what we're going to have right now, okay? So, oh my goodness. Mm, mm. Oh, that's so good. How was your week? My week was, eh. I was sick most of this week. I have done something to my shoulder. No idea what I did to my shoulder. It has been hurting for about a week now. It's not good. It hurts really anytime. Like right now, it's fine. Anytime it goes like right here, it hurts. Anytime it goes backwards at all, like right here on back, hurts. If I carry anything, it hurts. If I'm sleeping, it hurts. I have no idea what I did. But yeah, that's been my week. I've just been like suffering. I've been suffering with like a cold, a sickness, all these different things on top of one another. And then my arm, but then also being a mom and taking care of my kids because that just never ends. But to be honest, I have done what needs to be done, but nothing more. I have not been like doing anything that's like extra. I've just been lazying it up in bed all week. And watching a lot of docuseries and podcasts and all that. So that explains my deep dive that we'll get into later. But that's been me. And also kind of being lazy and allowing the sleeping in and everything for this week, because next week is when we officially start homeschooling. That's what we're doing. Monday, we officially start to homeschool. That's just crazy to me. I'm excited, but I'm also like super nervous, and I'm also dreading the like waking up and being ready and all of that again. But that's just how it goes. But other than that, my week has been living. I hope you guys have had a great week. I'm sorry for the lapse in last week. I just was not doing well. I've just not been feeling well at all. So again, I'm sorry about last week. I hope that does not happen again. But when it comes to getting sick, we just don't always expect it, And sometimes I have to just save all the energy that I have for the children that I have to take care of. But let's just hope that that doesn't happen again. So, should we get into our hot topics? Let's do it. I kind of chose some lighthearted ones and then some heavy ones. And I hope that this episode doesn't get too heavy. I hope it doesn't get too heavy, and I hope that it's pretty lighthearted, but I think that there are some really good messages in some of the things that we have for today. Again, my notes. My brain has been gone, you guys. You guys know that. Mom brain has been happening. But I'm going to definitely be using my notes. I want to make sure that I don't forget anything. But, I mean, these first couple ones are pretty simple and not things that I should forget at all, because they're kind of humorous. If you guys watch Sister Wives, if you're a fan or you partake in watching Sister Wives that premieres and is on TLC, you would know that Kody Brown, the dad and the ex-husband of 3 of the wives and the husband of Robin, is not the greatest person. At least you just kind of don't want to see his face. You know, he's one of those people that you see him on the show and you just kind of want to like, mm. But not to let myself digress here. The news about Kody Brown that has been coming around right now is he is starring in the new season of Special Forces. Kody Brown is starring in the new season of Special Forces. I find this very humorous. I find this very laughable. And also, I'm going to watch it. I haven't watched Special Forces since I think like the first season. It's a good show. I just haven't seen it in a while. And I will be partaking in this season just to see him. And I don't say that in like a callous way. I say it in kind of a funny way. I do want them to make him cry. And I don't mean that in like a horrible way, but I think that he just needs to be knocked down a few pegs. And they make like a lot of these celebrities, go through stuff and, they start doing these crying moments and they get emotional and they break down. And I feel like he needs it. I feel like he is one of those people who needs to be taken down a few pegs. And I'm here for it. I hope that that is what happens. I don't know. I find it very funny. And I feel like it's going to be very comedic. And I don't know. I think that he does need to be knocked down a few pegs. So I'm kind of excited for this season. I hope it brings what I hope for it to bring. But I found that really funny, to be honest. And like I said, I will be partaking in the new season because of Kody Brown being in it. So, I mean, good cast choice? I guess so. Yeah, probably. Because I saw a lot of other people feel the same way. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot more viewership. There's a lot more viewership that's going to happen on this season just because of him. I know, like, every season, like, they have, like, one celebrity and a couple celebrities that a lot of people like. Those people usually go and watch the show, so it's a very good idea, and kind of funny to choose someone that people don't like. We want to see him knock down a few pegs. And like I said, I'm not trying to be evil-hearted or anything, but, like, the things he's done, I feel like he needs a little bit of a breaking point. And like, if he hasn't reached his breaking point already, I hope that he can finally see the light in some way and get the emotional and mental help that he needs. And I don't know if that will happen because I know people in my life who need that as well. And just that narcissism. I don't know. People can change though. People can change. There are just certain mental things that people go through that don't really allow them to do so in certain ways. So let's hope for the best for him. Okay, we're going to say that. We're hoping for the best for you, Kody Brown. I'm hoping for the best for you. Another hot topic is Taylor Swift did her first podcast with her boyfriend and his brother. So the Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce podcast, she did it with them. And I thought it was really wholesome. I didn't watch the whole thing. I'm not a big Taylor Swift fan, and not because of her as a person, just her music. I used to love it in the era of country. Like when she was country, I used to love it. And then when she started doing pop, I liked her a lot for like a year or two. And then it just got so many like love songs that were like she was jaded and everything like that, and I just didn't relate to it as much. So I just don't relate to the music as much as a lot of other people, but I know she has amazing talent. She has charisma. She's a very smart woman, and I'm no weird feelings against her. I think she's actually pretty phenomenal, and she did something pretty great to get to where she is now. So I think she's awesome in that way. But yeah, I'm just not like a normal like Swifty or anything like that. But I thought it was interesting that she did her first podcast. And I love that she did it on her terms. Like it's her terms because you know how she is now. She's an elite celebrity. She's like elite now. She has money, she has power, she has charisma, she has all the things going for her, and I love that for her. Um, I think it's really cool that she did it on her own terms. She hasn't done any other podcasts before, and she just laid it on the floor, and she kind of there's a few parts that kind of make me think that she kind of put a little jab at Blake Lively, which was kind of interesting to see and watch. But no, I thought that was really cool. And like I said, I think it's cool that she did it on her own terms, in her own comfort space, with people that she trusts and loves. And it's just cool. Taylor Swift is now on the podcast era. We'll see if she does any more. I'm kind of curious if she will after this, or if this is the way she wants to do it, and only with Travis and Jason. Curious. Um, oh, here we go. I love this hot topic point. Elton Castee. I always wonder if I say his last name wrong. Um, Elton Castee. I don't know. I follow him. I am a huge fan of him and have been watching him for years. I still can't say his last name right though. And Matt Rife bought the Warrens house and the Warrens Occult Museum. It's on the same property. They bought it, and there's a lot of controversy about this. People are like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that they bought the Warrens Occult Museum and that they're on, not loan, but they have possession of the items at the Warrens Museum for the next 5 years. So they're like the caretakers of the Annabelle doll and everything like that. And some people who are like, oh my gosh, Matt Rife, a comedian, they're giving him this. These people are honestly some of the most trustworthy, in my opinion, ghost hunters out there right now. To have this as like their possession, to own the Warrens house and the Warrens Occult Museum, and then also be caretakers of the possessions that are inside the museum in the property. I think they're the perfect people for it. For them to have gotten to this point took a lot for the main guy, Tony, of the property and everything like that, to allow this to happen. And in one of my previous videos, I mentioned Dan Rivera, who passed away, who was the Annabelle doll's caretaker, and how he passed away recently. Well, he was really close with Elton and was getting to know Matt, I believe, as well. And like he was really close with Elton. I'm pretty sure he actually was getting really close with Matt up and coming to this point. And he wanted them to have this ability. And he was the one who, proposed for this to happen. And like I've said in the past, he really takes the stuff seriously, or took the stuff seriously. I'm sorry. And again, I do not want people to immediately relate his passing to Annabelle. He was an amazing person. I think that what happened to him should really put our hearts towards his family and towards what his work was, his life's work, and focus on that, not focus on the Annabelle aspect. I personally do not like the Warrens. I do not believe that the Warrens were fully what they said that they were. I do not believe that they had the best intentions all the time. I actually detest some of the things that they did. You look into Bathsheba Sherman, who is what the Conjuring series is about. They demonize her, literally. Um, and she was not what they portrayed her to be. This was an actual woman, this was an actual person who lived in history, obviously, in the past. And she had children, some who passed and everything, and they just twisted her life and twisted everything. There is no documentation to prove what they've claimed. And they made her out to be something evil and horrible. And people destroy her gravesite. Still, I think that they actually had to take her gravestone away, and so people couldn't come back and know where she was. I could be wrong about that. But the things that they've done in the past, there's other things that they've done too, with like people who were morticians who owned a house and were the previous owners of one of the hauntings that they investigated, and they threw their name in the mud, completely said that there was happening from those morticians. I believe it's mortician is the right word. They took care of the dead bodies, the embalming and all that stuff in the basement of the house. I think a mortician, but that there's like I think there's an actual clinical word for it, and I can't remember what that is. But they did some horrible things that there was no documentation to prove. They claimed things about people based on psychic ability that put people's names after they had passed or who are still alive in the mud. They twisted narratives to benefit themselves. And I don't think that they are the greatest um, demonologists or ghost hunting people out there. And I don't think that we should glorify what they did. In fact, I think that we should investigate it and see what might be true and what might not be, because there might be some good truths in there. There might be actual hauntings. There might actually be things that happened that were similar, but that they took advantage of. Or it did theatrics to make bigger, to make themselves more famous. And I just, um, I don't agree with the Warren Foundation. I don't agree with the whole touring of Annabelle that was happening. Obviously, Ed and Lorraine Warren were not a part of that. They have been passed away for a long time now. And I do not want to put their names in the mud as they have passed away. But I do think that the glorification of their practices need to be very limited. I think we need to, like I said, investigate what they actually did and come to our own conclusions. Like if you believe that what they did, what happened and was true, good for you. That's your opinion. I do not believe all of it was true. I think there was hauntings. I think there was things that were happening to these families in certain instances, not all of them. But I think that, like I said, I think it was theatrics. I think that they blew things out of proportion for their own benefit and demonized people who are either still living or passed away. And I think that's horrible. I think that that's not something that we should glorify. But, but the Warrens' house and the Warrens' Occult Museum, yes, it's attached to them. Yes, it has their history. But I think that we can admire it and go investigate there if we want to, without putting it all on Ed and Lauren as if we fully believe in them. I feel like we can still partake and love the fact that it has been purchased and that it will have a new life to it and people can actually investigate and everything, while also not giving all the goods to Ed and Lorraine Warren's past and credibility. Okay. I'm so stoked that Matt and Elton bought this property. I'm so stoked about it because they are people who actually want to know more. They actually want to learn about the paranormal and figure it out. And I think that that makes them the perfect people for this. They're not faking stuff. At least I haven't seen any type of debunking that makes sense of their videos. They are genuine. I mean, Elton, he definitely puts his all into these videos that he does and his investigations, and he's so honest, and he debunks himself sometimes, especially in his earlier videos. I just have a lot of respect for Elton and his wife Ginger. I just love watching them. They're very, very kind people. And I think seeing their aspiration and their goals for this property is just so exciting. They want to allow people to use cameras, like borrow their cameras that they have there. So if people come and they don't have the right ghost equipment, don't have the right cameras to capture things, they're willing to let them borrow cameras and equipment so that they can actually get some evidence. They want to find evidence and they want to give people the ability to come and explore and investigate a property and its artifacts that have not been able, like, that has not been something that people can do. Like, that's really cool. Like I've said, I don't really think that Ed and Lorraine Warren are fully credible. I don't think that all the things that they did were true, so on. But I do think that some of the artifacts in there are um, not good. I think that there are things that need protections, and I think that there are really cool things that could be investigated at this property. So I am so stoked, and I know it's a controversy. I know people are like, "Oh my gosh, a comedian is buying this," like they're making it into a joke, and I don't think that this is a joke or should be treated as such. Is what I mean. Like um, Matt Rife and Elton, if you have been following their journey and have been watching the ghost hunting videos, or even just some of their friendship videos or haunted homies episodes, it's like where they do comedy specials about the paranormal and incorporate it all together. It's really fun. If you know that, their connection and their relationship to the paranormal and to ghost hunting and understanding the paranormal is very, very wide. They understand a lot and they are honest people who want to figure it out. And I think that that's so cool. So I'm excited. I usually drink this so much faster, but because I'm talking so much, because I'm yapping, it's like this much gone. But yeah, no, I'm so excited, and I think that they are the perfect people for this. And truly, I hope in like the next year or two that I can make it out to the Warrens' house and museum and investigate it. I have a couple things of equipment, but I need to get more. But if they're willing to let us rent equipment, I mean, I guess it'd just be the plane ticket and, you know, like maybe a hotel stay or something for the day after or the day before. But yeah, I really, really am excited for this and hopeful to actually be able to go investigate this because I feel like this is such a cool place to be able to investigate. I previously investigated a few places, not on YouTube, just personal investigations. I went to the Washoe Club, which is in Nevada, in Virginia City. It's very awesome. Mark Twain's like museum is right across the street from it. It's all old townsy, and it just takes you back, and it's just a really cool place. But it's one of the most haunted places in the United States. And I went there. That was what like really brought me into the paranormal, was investigating an overnight at the Washoe Club. And since then, I've investigated personal places and very old personal places, like my old coffee shop. We owned a coffee shop in Oregon, and it was built in the 1890s. Um, and there was a lot of activity there. The piano would play randomly. We had customers who would hear the piano, so it wasn't just us. Like customers would account to be like, "Oh my gosh, you heard that too, right?" Like, yeah, piano goes off by itself, creaks upstairs. You know, we'd be late. We'd have open mic nights, and we would be staying late after everyone was performing and closing up, and you just hear things, and it was very interesting. So I've investigated there, um, and I love learning and investigating and just trying to figure out what what is actually happening. So this to me is really cool. Personally, I would love to actually go and have the ability to investigate such a point in paranormal history, even if it not all of it's credible, not all of it's true in my opinion. Um, I think it would just be amazing, and I think that that just shines a light on what Elton and Matt want, is to give that opportunity to people to be able to investigate places that haven't been able to be investigated before, and for people to find the truth. That's I know that, like, I don't think that the paranormal world, whether you believe in it or not, wants you to really know the truth fully. I think the paranormal wants us to not know for sure, wants us to question, wants us to hesitate. But I don't know. I think that's the cool part, is that we all get to kind of come and investigate it. And the artifacts there, the Annabelle doll will be there, um, secured. If you do go, if you do investigate this property, I ask you, please respect the artifacts, even if you don't think they're real. Even if you don't have any like belief in your body that any of this is true, please be respectful. Please be kind, and just have an open mind. I feel like we need to be like that in all of life, not just, these paranormal things or religious thoughts or whatever. I think we need to always have an open mind, to politics, policies, to people, to friendships, to perspectives. Like I've said before, it's very important to have an open mind to things. Don't be stupid. Don't be too gullible, but have an open mind. I think that's very important. And as we go into that, I think we need to talk about something a little serious. And that is, again, I don't think I'm going to be quiet about this. I'll bring it up, and if I see updates on it, I'll update. There isn't really an update that I'm seeing on it right now, but I think it needs to be reiterated. The Epstein files. Some of you knew that that's where I was going. I just want to state, I know I'm such a nobody and nobody sees me on here, but I do want to state this just for kicks and giggles. I do love my life. I do want to live. So you know that. Okay. Um, I wrote this down. I wrote this kind of all in here because this is also going to kind of tie into my deep dive. So pardon me for looking at my notes, okay? The Epstein files is not something that we should be quiet about. I know that things are happening right now that I feel like they're trying to do smoke screens with us. They're trying to make us forget about it and not think about it as much. There's so much more going on. Oh my gosh, this meeting with Putin today and in Alaska and all these other things that are happening. And yes, things are important. All of these things that are happening right now are very important. And the things that are happening in Congress right now are very important. And actually, what happened, I'm going to get emotional. I should not get emotional. Okay. I'm going to try not to get emotional. Okay. I'm going to read it because the things happening in Congress are very important. And the reason we need to keep our eyes open on all of these things and to not shut up about the Epstein files is because they tie in together. NPR News. I just saw this today. It was posted, I believe, yesterday. Required by Congress, the reports no longer single out things like rigged elections or sexual violence against children as human rights violations. That's the tagline, right? So I went in and I read the whole article. You can too go to npr.org. State Department slashes its annual reports on human rights. So the United States does a report on human rights every year. Basically, they state all of what's human rights and what we need to view as violations of human rights. And then they go into each country and they rate each country for their violations. They tell us which country is doing the worst and which one is doing the best in not having violations, right? So, what they did, and I'm sorry I have my phone, is they took out multiple things. And this correlates to the Epstein files. I'm sorry. I know rabbit trail, but this goes into the Epstein files. This is very important.
Following contains some graphic verbiage and is for educational purposes only. Sources are in the description of this video. Viewer discretion is advised.
They cut out, this is from the news yesterday again, I say this. They cut out multiple things that used to be considered violations. I'm going to read these. You can go back, you can go to the article, you can find this information and you can see it for yourselves. And I can, basically verbatim tell you what it says, but you can go back and actually see every single bullet. I'm going to tell you the bullets that I think are very dangerous, very scary, and why our eyes need to be open right now. I'm going to tell you those, and then you can go and do your own research. Please do. And again, these are things that are not considered human rights violations to our Congress anymore. They cut it out of their reports for human rights. All right. So there's asylum seeking and stuff like that. Section 3, freedom to participate in political process. A, abuses or irregularities in recent elections. B, political parties and political participation. C, participation of women or members of marginalized or vulnerable groups. So taking away the freedom to participate in the political process is now not considered a human rights violation. Section 4, corruption in government is no longer considered a human rights violation. Section 5, government posture towards international and non-government monitoring and investigation of alleged abuses of human rights. And that's no longer considered a human rights violation. Section 6, discrimination and societal abuse. A, women, domestic violence, female. Sorry, I know this is very graphic. I should put a warning. I'll put a warning on there. other forms of gender-based violence or discrimination. These are no longer considered human rights violations. Section 2, respect for civil liberties. Things that are cut out are libel and slander laws, national security, B, freedom of peaceful assembly and association, freedom of peaceful assembly, restrictions on, freedom of association, restrictions on. No longer considered a human rights violation if you are not allowed to have the rights to a peaceful assembly. Freedom of movement and the right to leave the country. If you are in a country that no longer allows you to leave, that is no longer considered a human rights violation. Section 1, respect for the integrity of the person. And the part that is cut out is prison and detention center conditions, including abusive physical conditions, administration, whether credible allegations were investigated, independent monitoring, improvements of any. So if you are in a prison with horrible conditions and you're in a detention center with horrible conditions and have abusive physical conditions or administration physical conditions, that's not a human rights violation anymore. That's not, according to Congress. Denial of fair public trials, trial procedures, political prisoners or detainees, arbitrary or unlawful interference with the privacy, family, home, or correspondence, property seizure or restitution. If any of that happens to you, that is no longer a human rights violation. And last of all, I know that there was one that was already really horrible, but this is another point of horrible. This is no longer a human rights violation if it is happening in your country. Child abuse or neglect, sexual exploitation of children, infanticide, including of children with disabilities. I'm sorry. This is what really got me. All of it gets me. All of it makes me upset. All of it makes me aware. All of it makes me eyes wide open. What the hell is happening? But with a mother, as a mom with a child with Down syndrome, knowing what happened in Germany, this scares me. I'll read it again. Infanticide, including of children with disabilities, is no longer a human rights violation according to our Congress, the United States Congress. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or intersex persons, the criminalization of them, the violence and harassment of them, the discrimination of them, the availability of legal gender recognition, the involuntary or coercive medical or psychological practices, freedom of expression, association, or peaceful assembly, that is no longer a human rights violation. If you are of the LGBTQ plus community and you have violence, harassment, discrimination, any type of coercive medical or psychological practices, that's not a human rights violation. Your right for freedom of expression, association, or peaceful assembly is no longer there. If you're part of the LGBTQ community, this is very important. This is very scary. And this is very real. This is messed up, you guys. This is so scary. And I am just also this is really hard for me to read, okay? Persons with disabilities. Institutionalization of children with disabilities is no longer a human rights violation. The way that they used to treat people with disabilities is no longer a human rights violation. Other social violence or discrimination, forced organ harvesting. Those are no longer human rights violations. I'm probably affecting this mic, and I'm sorry. I'm livid. And the reason that this ties into the Epstein files, the way that this ties in, is we are taking away the seriousness of these crimes that happened at Epstein Island is happening all over the world. These are corrupt people. These are corrupt organizations. These are corrupt governments working together, taking away our human rights, taking away what we perceive to be wrong and to be okay and what we see as dangerous. Oh, those aren't human rights violations anymore. The cutting of women's is not a human rights violation. The of children, of infants, because they have Down syndrome or some other disability is not a human rights violation. The taking of rights away from people who are in minority communities, that's not a human rights violation? What? The desensitizing of our people to these issues, it is preparing us for these issues that we hold so strong, know in our guts is wrong, is going to happen. Because we are letting it happen. And I'm so sorry. I said I wanted a lighthearted episode, didn't I? I said I wanted a lighthearted episode. I'm sorry. I think this is all stuff that needs to be spoken on. And I think that the quieting of the Epstein files, the smoke and mirrors, all the smoke screen stuff that's happening right now in our government, the things that they want us to look at and the things that they want us to forget about. It's all important because it's tying into what they're doing right now, what they're passing in our Congress, what they're trying to undermine in our Constitution, in our constitutional process, in the way that we live, in the way that we see things. If you look at the White House Instagram page and you see what they're posting, I've never seen a president, I've never seen a White House social media page ever post the crap, the smut that they're posting right now. I've never seen that except for in authoritarian countries. It's propaganda. And so many are falling for it. But right now, a lot are waking up. And it's scary because they're all intertwined. And it's all part of these horrible elite connections. When you look at Epstein, going back to it, there's Prince Andrew, there's Bill Clinton, there's Donald Trump, there's the owner of the former owner of Victoria's Secret. Allegedly, all of this, right? What Epstein did was he blackmailed the elite, all his elite connections, from celebrities to governments, literally governments, to politicians, to religious organizations and people who are of certain churches, to even the Mossad. And the Mossad is the Israeli intelligence agency. And he has connections with them. Connections that are actually very eye-opening. And I don't want to spread a conspiracy, okay? But there are some connections, and it is worth noting because of all the things that have been happening with Israel right now. I think it's very interesting that Epstein had connections with the Mossad and connections with the Israeli government. Very interesting. And then you see Netanyahu and Trump and the things that is happening between them and the weird power struggle. And then same with Trump and Putin, the power struggles. And there's a lot of connections between all of that. When you look at Epstein and you look at the current events right now, there is a reason that our president is remaining silent about the Epstein files. There is a reason he is not releasing them. It's a very serious reason. And we all need to take this into account. We all need to take this in and research ourselves and figure things out, because I've watched hours. I had a whole week, you guys, of being sick, like sick. And I watched a lot. I watched a lot. And I know that like not all podcasts and everything, like, but then I also went on my phone and my computer and I researched a lot and figured out my own theories, which I won't share right now. I have my own theories, I have my own thoughts on things, but I really just want to spread the awareness of this. I want us to know the core of what's happening, because I'll give you the facts. Theories and opinions and stuff, that's to the side. We don't need that right now. We need the facts. And the facts are all of it's connected. All of it is connected to what we're seeing today. And it's so important. And also, it's just important because the women, the victims of Epstein Island, the women, and I'm sure there were other, like, I'm sure there were males. I'm sure that there were other people who are victims, who are not getting justice. They're not getting justice. And the only person that is being held accountable is a woman. What about all the men that perpetrated all these crimes, that did all this crap, that hurt so many people? What about them? Why are the victims not getting justice? We can talk about that as well. You know, I mean, that's a very important thing. But what's happening right now has been happening for years, has been happening for decades. And we're unraveling it. We're seeing the truth. And gosh, I hope that we start seeing it a lot more clear before the next election. I really hope that we start seeing the truth and knowing what we believe and seeing the unraveling before things get worse, because they're getting bad. Whatever political party you're a part of, it doesn't matter. What is happening right in front of our eyes, and it isn't Republican, Democrat, independent based. It is, whoa. This is alarming. This is not good. We need to do something about it. Whether we vote a, independent in, wouldn't that be great? Actually, that would be amazing. As long as it's like a good person, I guess. But like, if we could somehow not vote for this current administration, and we can drain the swamp in the way that it should actually be drained, that would be amazing. But I want you to see that it ties in with everything. And this went into my deep dive, because my deep dive has been about Amy Bradley. And if you watch like criminal documentaries, missing person documentaries, if you are a true crime buff, you watch the documentaries, you watch the podcasts and everything. But Netflix came out with a documentary on, what is it? Amy Bradley is Missing is what it's called on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you go watch it. It's very interesting. They did leave out a lot of stuff. It's a like 3-part series or whatever, 2 or 3-part series. And it goes into a woman who went missing 27 years ago, Amy Bradley, on a cruise ship. And she was going on the Caribbean with her family. And I mean, there's so many details. I'm not going to go into that. That's not why I went into this deep depth and mentioned it for the podcast. But to give little recognition, she disappeared, and there were possible theories of how she disappeared, whether she jumped, fell in, which both are very, very unlikely. I do not believe that is what happened, but there are theories. Whether she was pushed in, I also don't believe that. And the reason why is the boat was literally coming into harbor. So they're not in the middle of the ocean. Okay. So like she should have been found if that had happened, or a remnants of her should have been found. Was not found. So those are the 2 theories that I just don't think happened. Also just going into all the evidence and stuff in the case just doesn't line up to me. But there was the other ones of, did she run away? Did she just get off the ship and go on her own thing and just doesn't want to be found? That doesn't seem likely either at all. And the other thing is she was abducted. And there's a lot of evidence that kind of go into that play into that theory, because she's been seen. There's been spottings of her. There's a picture that was found on a sex trafficking website. That it was a website basically like comes to this vacation place with, and you'll have the, escorts, like an escorting service or whatever. We all know what that is, right? And they did facial recognition, and FBI says 100% that is Amy Bradley. She has not been found, obviously. It's been 27 years. But this true crime deep dive brought me into exploring the whole sex trafficking aspect. And it is horrible. It is so sad. And I know all of you know this. But on her website, which is amybradleyismissing.com or .org or something like that, I'll put it down. On her website, there's like all this information, all these pieces of evidence or whatever from these websites and ads, and it's so sad. It's so scary. There are people who are leaving reviews of these travel places, these travel escort service and resorts and stuff, and people are leaving reviews, and they're talking about the women's as like these chicas, and basically saying, that they respect the person who's in charge of them. I believe his name was Pablo, and they respect him and all these things. And he is feared, but he is also respected. And like, these people are coming to this island for a vacation, and they're using people who are sex trafficked, and they're leaving reviews of these women who are sex trafficked, who are sex slaves. They're leaving reviews of them and the resort that holds them hostage. And it's just so crazy. It's disgusting. It's horrible. And then in the documentary, you see this guy from the Navy who was 2 years out from retirement, and he goes to a brothel that he's not supposed to be in. And Amy Bradley allegedly comes to him and tells him who she is and asks for help. And because he was too afraid to get in trouble and lose his pension, he didn't get help for her. It's like certain disgusting aspects of humanity. And you're also supporting a place that is doing these things, like going to these places that the reason why the Navy didn't allow you to go is not only because it's risque and, has had bad reputations, but because the Navy knows that there might be something bad going on criminally there. And you still go. I do trust his account because I don't think someone would lie about that and make themselves look like such a D-bag. I don't think someone would willingly say this about themselves, like, oh, I went to this brothel and there was sex trafficking there and I did nothing. I don't think anyone would say that unless it actually happened. So that's why I take his account as being something that actually happened. But like I said, if you are interested in like learning about what happened and watching the documentary, please do. It's very interesting. And again, the website, I tie that in because I've just been so into it. I'm watching so many podcasts about it, the theories and the sciences of like the ocean and how things would work and how one theory would work and one other theory doesn't work and who might have actually taken her, because there's actually people who are suspected to have done it based on what had happened on the cruise ship. Very interesting, very good documentary. But like I said, if they left a lot of stuff out, could have been a longer documentary for sure. But it really does shine a light on human trafficking, and it shines a light on things that we need to be aware of, things that we need to take seriously and we need to understand in our society. And there are disgusting people in this world. There might be people that who might not be into human trafficking, but might be into some really disgusting things like taking away your human rights, like taking away the basic ability to have freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. Their agenda is dangerous. To take this out of the human rights reports of what we deem is human right and seeing what is happening right now with the administration, our eyes need to be opened. Our hearts need to be opened. And we need to take this stuff very seriously. I know not everyone will agree politically with me, and that's okay. I don't ask you to. I don't assume that someone would, just believe what I say. I hope you don't, actually. I hope you go and do your own research and figure out formulate your own opinion and your own theory and your own understanding of what is happening in the world every day. Like, don't just rely on what I say. Figure it out yourself. And I know that, like, I can be very open about my beliefs and where I stand on things, but I really hope that doesn't ever, ever make you feel like I don't want you to have your own opinion, because I do. I can be outspoken and open about what I think and what I believe because that's who I am. I'm open, I'm outspoken, but I'm always, always willing to learn. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And sometimes I want to be wrong. Sometimes there are times where I really hope I'm wrong. Okay. So please, just because you've seen me before speak about something politically, don't ever think that I am not for you and not willing to listen to you, not willing to advocate for you. I will always advocate for rights, human decency, love, the Constitution, and our democracy. I love our country. I love where we are. And I don't really want to get political all the time. Like, I really don't. But I do think that this isn't necessarily a political thing when it comes to right versus left. And I don't think that we should be looking at the government in that way right now. I think what we should be doing is looking at right versus wrong and seeing, whoa, that doesn't feel right to me. Whether it be left or right, whether it be a Democrat or Republican. If something does not feel right or wholesome, moral, then it doesn't to you. And that's what you need to follow. And the Constitution. The Constitution is made to be amended. It's made to be changed. It's a living document. It's made to be changed. But we need to do so in a way that is progressing in society, progressing as a world, and has citizens at the forefront. We should not be putting people in power and putting organizations and corrupt rings into power, because that's what we're doing right now. There are so many people who are connected, and we're seeing it more and more, and that's why the Epstein files are not being open, not being made public. There are too many people implicated, and that shows we need to dismantle what we have right now and what we've had in the past. The government needed the draining of the swamp. It's needed that. I voted for Trump in 2016 based on that. We need draining of the swamp. We need term limits. We need these things happening because corruption is coming so fast. It's already been here, but now we're seeing it play out like we have seen in history. And the Epstein files plays into all of it. The people connected to the Epstein files plays into all of it. And I said I wanted to keep it lighthearted. I said that at the very beginning. And I think my interpretation of being lighthearted is to give an awareness and give a love to all of you that we're in this together. We're seeing it together. Things are happening in life, but we can't turn a blind eye. We can't. And we can be lighthearted in a way that we know the truth. We know the facts. We figure it out. We do our deep dives. We do our research. And it comes together. We are in this together. We the people. If you're not in the United States, we the humanity, like the humanity aspect of everything. We as a world, we as human beings, the human race, we're in this together. And I know a lot of countries are looking at the US right now like, what is going on over there? And I'm like, what is going on over here? And so many Americans are not in support of what's happening right now. And the support of Epstein, the files not being released, is insane to me. And there are other governments, other countries who are involved in this. And we're seeing it in real time. Like I said, there are connections to the Mossad. There are also theories and conspiracies, allegedly. All this is allegedly, with Russia and the Epstein files, Epstein himself. So the ties between all these countries and what's happening currently in the world and what we are seeing not being released all comes together, all ties together. And that's why I'm mentioning it all and I'm putting it all together for you. This is my hot topic. The Epstein files should not be forgotten. We should not be sweeping that under the rug. Deep dive. Amy Bradley, the human trafficking, the theories of her abduction and everything like that. Just open our eyes to the human trafficking that is happening, that we know has been happening, but it just really is disgusting, and you see the evidence of it, and you can actually see what's so hard to see. But we see it, if you go on her website, you can find all this information on it. And it's sad. It's horrible. It's dehumanizing. And then just tying it all together. It's what's happening right now, current events right now. So I'm going to leave this with you. We are all, like I said, in this together. We are fighting the same cause, humanity, and the right to live, the right to live as we want, as long as it doesn't hurt or infringe on others. We're all in this together. Let's fight together. Let's educate ourselves together. Let's stay vigilant together. Whether we be on different sides of the political spectrum, whether we believe in different religious beliefs or understandings, whether we believe in the paranormal, whatever we believe in, personally, we tie it all together in what we should have, and that's human rights. And right now, that's in jeopardy. And right now, we need to be speaking out about it. We need to be open about it, and we need to understand that things are happening at a fast rate, and we need to see it, observe it, acknowledge it, and fight it. Because children should not be victims to this type of corruption. People of minority communities should not be victims to this corruption. People with disabilities should not be victims to this corruption. And people of the United States of America should not be losing their rights. They should have their rights. Things should not be changing that fast. These types of amendments and changes to how we view humanity and the rights of humanity should not be changing like this. This is regression in a authoritarian scheme. And I know I sound crazy. I know I sound far-fetched, but it's all playing out. It's all happening right now. And it's all tying together. I don't feel like it can even be a conspiracy at this point. So, I know that was a lot. And we started out with Kody Brown and Taylor Swift. But I appreciate all of you. I thank you for sitting through this, hearing me talk to you, listing things that are just not comfortable to hear, talking about horrendous things. And you guys just stuck with me. You've stuck with me. I appreciate all of you. And I hope that you had an amazing week. And I hope that next week is so great. But keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open, loves. Again, I appreciate you. Sincerely, the Candidly Fair podcast. See you next week.